Today, the topic of our Coach Live is going to be anxiety and what the heck do you do with it? What do you do with anxiety when it's showing up in your life? And I've got some notes here. I'm kind of jumping from one task to another, and I even have a little anxiety about doing this live, but it's all right. I'm just going to bring it along with me. Whit and I often chase pretty big, scary goals. We go after stuff. We try to take massive action in our business. We often talk about dreams we have and the way we're going to go big. And along with that comes a lot of fear of things like rejection or embarrassment or failure or doing it wrong, what people are going to think of us, what they're going to say of us, that, all of these things come in, all these little fears. So that, anxiety, fear, it's all kind of the same. And so probably if you're watching this, you've experienced some of the same. Feel free to give me a little shout out, a little thumbs up and say, yes, when I try to make big changes in my life, I definitely have some anxiety that is coming along with me. Hey, Jen. It's so good to see everybody. I'm so excited. This is like a party that we're having on here. So the way I think of it is that Whit and I have done this enough times. We've gone through this enough, chased goals enough times. Hey, Kathy. That we know what it's going to feel like. And what it reminds me of is when you're an athlete and you're going to your practice, you're going to see your coach for conditioning. It's like the conditioning part of the season, like that 6 weeks before things start getting fun. And you are driving there, you're a senior in high school driving to your conditioning practice, and that you are going to do whatever the coach asks you to do. You will do whatever workout that coach puts on the board or requires of you. There's no doubt. There's no doubt you're going to do it. You've done it for the last 3 years. You know you're going to do it again this year, but you're also terrified of it. You know how hard it's going to be, and you're driving up there, and that anxiety is just coming into place. And it's not an anxiety of like not making the team, like that sort of thing. It's really of the work, of the process, of like knowing how hard it's going to be to go through this. Well, that's a lot of times the way it is with big change, because a lot of the big change we're making, we've tried to make many times in our life. It's an area of growth that we've been trying to go, and we've gone down that road. We've started the journey. We've made it way into that journey. And we know what's in front of us in terms of how hard it's going to be, and it stirs up this anxiety. Am I going to be able to stick with this to the end? Are people going to judge me? What if I fail? What if everyone's right and I can't do this? Everyone's saying you're never going to be able to change, and I don't. I mess up. All of that stuff, it's going to stir up this anxiety. And so what I want to talk about is, what the heck do we do with it? What do we do with this anxiety? I don't think you're going to like my answer, or maybe you will like my answer. I don't know. But basically, you don't do much with it at all. You just let it be a part of what's going on. It's just going to be a part of this journey, but you kind of reframe it in terms of how you expect it. This thought, this idea that I have about how to handle anxiety, the way that I practice attempting to handle anxiety, comes from 3 different places in my life. And so I'm going to share with you kind of 3 examples of where this has been reinforced for me. The first one is rock climbing. Rock climbing is scary sometimes, especially if you're the lead climber. You're taking off up this rock, and the rope is below you. So yes, you are attached, but your safety gear, it's below your feet. And so if you fall, you have to fall enough that your rope gets below the safety gear. Then finally the safety gear catches. Hopefully that one catches. And that's when you come into the rock. So are you going to die? No. But is it a feeling that you want to feel? Also no. So it stirs up some anxiety. Well, when we're climbing like this, I go, one specific trip I'm thinking of, I was with myself, my friend Jason, and his cousin Alan. Alan's my friend too, but we'll call him Jason's cousin. And the 3 of us were climbing in Idaho, and we basically ended up with roles. There was one climber, one guy was belaying, and the third guy was taking photos, and also had this job, to keep on repeating, "This is why we came." So the climber will be up there leading the climb, get scared, because man, once you get scared, it really just overwhelms you. It just like washes over you. And so you're feeling this anxiety, and we're thinking, hey, you got to keep climbing anyway. And so the other guy's job would be to say, hey, remember why we came? Remember why we paid for a flight? Remember why we rented a car? Remember why we drove from the airport in Utah all the way to Idaho? Remember why we rented this cabin, got out this gear and came out? It's because we wanted to do this. We knew it was going to be scary the whole time, and we've been looking forward to this trip, and it kind of makes you smile and say, yes, this is scary, and that's okay. So that's kind of my first example where I really had this reinforced that doesn't make the fear go away. It doesn't make the anxiety go anywhere. But it's all right to have the anxiety come along. I'll look at what, hey, Steadfast Life is posting on Steadfast Life. It says, the thought I'm not safe is a root cause to anxiety when I feel it. Oh, that makes sense. I'm glad that makes sense. That's great. Kathy feels that way all the time. Kathy's funny. The other one, the other time this was reinforced is when I was playing volleyball. So I was in college, I've been trying to make this team, I've been working, I've been cut, I've been, every one of my life's goals was aimed at making this team, making this team, making this team. It finally came down from my first game. So like literally, this is a dream come that. I think we're back in business. I'm sitting on the bench praying, my only prayer, I'm like, God, please make the coach not put me in. Like, I do not want to set foot on that court. I just want to stay here safe on this bench, which is crazy because it was a dream that I had been chasing. Yet when the moment came, I was so scared that I was like, I would rather just be on the bench in front of all these people in this pavilion rather than actually step inside of that game. Well, that didn't happen. The coach did put me inside the game. And I was absolutely terrified. And I went in there and someone hit like a nice easy ball. And when I went to try to go get it, my legs, they just bailed on me. My legs, they really let me down. And they were heavy and they were filled with lactic acid. And I moved very slowly. And so in between games, in volleyball you play a game and take a break, play another game. And so in between games, my coach came to me and he said, really such a powerful statement that I've mentioned before, but he said, Jake, you seem to be really nervous out there. Is that going to be a problem? And what I like about this is that he didn't say, don't be scared. That was my favorite part. And I don't know, I mean, he's like a genius. Like one of the best coaches I've ever had. He didn't say, don't be scared. He didn't say there's nothing to be afraid of. He didn't say, come on, man. Let that fear go. He's like, hey, I can tell you're going to be scared. Is that going to be a problem? And what that created space for is me to make that choice of like, oh yeah, I could actually be scared and still show up. That's an option that I have available to me. And it really got me pumped up, and it did help, not only in that moment, but through the next 3 seasons. So really good example right there. The last one I want to talk about is the idea that anxiety actually has a purpose. It's not like against me. It's for me. And so let me walk you through this. So if you think about what starts happening when I feel anxiety, I get an increased heart rate. Well, when I get an increased heart rate, what's happening is that my heart is pumping faster so that blood will go out to the areas of my body that need it. They'll have more oxygen. They'll have more of my energy. They're getting ready. They're getting ready to perform for a short period of time at a higher level. Sometimes I sweat. I start sweating when I feel anxious. Well, when I sweat, what's happening? My body's engaging its cooling system in advance because it knows the output of energy that I'm about to exert is going to increase the heat, right? It's going to increase my body temperature. I want my cooling system in place in advance to start counteracting that. The other thing that happens is sometimes I start to feel a little nauseous. Well, what's happening there when I'm feeling nauseous? Well, what's happening is my body, maybe I even have a dry mouth and nauseous. In those situations, it's saying, hey, listen, we're going to just go ahead and shut down our digestive system. This isn't going to be working. Your stomach's going to feel a little funny. You're not going to have the saliva and the enzymes in your mouth because we're not digesting food right now. We're going to divert that energy toward the task at hand. And you're going to go do this thing and you're going to do it well. Jen gets dry mouth. Nice. Also, sometimes I notice that I start breathing faster. And then I get shallow breath. Well, as I start breathing, what's happening? Increased oxygen. I'm sending it. I want my muscles to have more oxygen so they're ready to go. And that's an interesting word, ready, because the third way that I know that anxiety is just supposed to be part of this experience is because it makes me ready. Unfortunately, we named it wrong. We call it anxiety, but what it really is our human body being ready for action. And that's the beauty. If I can reframe it that way, if I can see it as ready for action, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, anxiety, you're really supposed to be here. So all of this is to say that the anxiety does not need to go away in order for you to be successful. That's the state. So what do we do with anxiety? We allow it. It does not have to go away for us to be successful. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, Jake, what in the world does that even mean, to allow it? Well, that's something that we talk about a lot in our coaching, and I'm not going to dive into it in this live. If you wanted to, if you want to reach out, like send me a direct message, email Whitney, might even be better, send Whitney a direct message. We can for sure talk through how to allow emotion, but I'm not going to jump into that here just because it's kind of diverting off this path. But that's what you do with it, is you allow it. Now, I don't want to just leave you hanging. I don't want to say, hey, we're going to talk about anxiety, and then I'm just saying, just allow it. It's no big deal. There are certain things that you don't do, or that I will at least offer to you to not do with your anxiety. I'm not the anxiety police on how you deal with it or what it means. I'm simply just friend to friend, just offering these suggestions. Don't talk about it all the time. Don't spend all your time talking about how you have anxiety, how you deal with anxiety, how your anxiety holds you back, how you're scared of this and that, just because you're putting yourself into a prison of identifying yourself by your anxiety. It's different to allow your anxiety, let it come along with you to do the things you're going to do, than it is to make it your character, to make it who you are. And so that's the first thing, is let's just quiet the discussion about anxiety a little bit. The second thing is, don't resist it and think it shouldn't be there. And this is my favorite one, because it's kind of like you're comparing your life with anxiety to a fantasy life that doesn't have anxiety, and thinking that your life should be the fantasy life. I like to think of crazy analogies to help you see that it's a fantasy. The one I choose for this one is that I don't spend my time frustrated that I don't have a third arm that I could just grow whenever I need a third arm. Because there are lots of times when my two hands are full, I'm carrying things, and there's something else I'd like to do. I would love to have a third arm. And it could jump out there and it could be so helpful. And then I could just put it away when I was done with it, so I didn't look strange like a third arm person, but I could have it when I needed it. That would be cool. However, what I don't do is spend my days bummed out that I don't have a third arm. It's kind of the same if you spend your days bummed out that you do have anxiety. You have it. And having this fantasy of this make-believe world where you don't have anxiety, it's just not helping you. It's a much better way to say, look, this is what I have. This is what I'm doing. This is where I am. And anxiety is going to come along. And then the third one is just not to define yourself by the fact that you have the anxiety, but instead imagine it like something that you carry in a backpack. It's just something like, yeah, it comes along with you. When I came on this live, when I start this thing, I have a little anxiety. There's no question about it. But I'm not going to come on here and be like, I'm the anxious guy doing it live. No way. I throw it in my pack, I put it on, and I go take care of business. I'm going to go take the action anyway, and the anxiety is going to come around. I'm not going to tell you about it the whole time, unless the topic is in fact anxiety, then it kind of makes sense to talk about it. But in general, I'm not going to be defining myself with this anxiety, talking about the anxiety all the time, wishing that I could live a life without the anxiety. I'm simply going to accept what is and move on. Now, here's the thing. There are some really cool backpacks out there. And when you have the cool ones on, you can still do just about everything that you did without the backpack with the backpack. They're like slim and sleek, and they fit right on the back here. They're not even in your way of your elbows when you move like this. You can still rock climb, you can still hike. You can do all the stuff with the backpack. That's the empowering way to look at this. That's what I would suggest you do with your anxiety. get a sweet backpack. That anxiety just goes in, you carry it along with you, and you can still do everything that you used to do, and you can do it like a boss. That's everything I have on here. I love that, Kathy, that you're saying we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That is absolutely true. I totally agree. And yeah, that looks like everything that everyone had on here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, especially if you're looking at the how to feel the feelings. I know I didn't go into that, how to allow it, but I would be happy to explain that more. So it's not bad when we have anxiety. No, it is not. It's no problem at all. It's no worse to have anxiety than it is to have any of the other emotions that we have on here. So yeah, I guess that's it. That's our Tuesday Coach Live. Like I said, any questions, comment, get in touch. Talk to you later. It was good to see you guys. Thanks for hopping on here, joining during the Steadfast party. Talk to you later.